Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here for this session. Thanks for those who made it here in person. So today, we will talk about our focus on building customer trust through the way we develop our products for Amazon Payment Services. And we also hope to inspire you towards thinking about security when you think of designing new products, when you have new ideas, because security is at the core of building customer trust. We hope this session will inspire you. We hope this will provide you some actionable mechanisms that you can implement. But before we start, I want to take a minute to talk about Reimagine Payments. So Reimagine Payments is a thought leadership forum for existing and potential merchants, regulators, and stakeholders in the payments industry to engage, explore, and contribute towards development of enhanced digital payments ecosystem in MENA. Check out our recently published white paper, What's Next for Digital Payments in the Middle East, which provides deep insights on the rapidly changing digital payments landscape in the MENA region. As part of Reimagine Payments, we will publish white papers, conduct seminars and webinars like this one here, discuss relevant topics with industry experts, and host insightful roundtables. Do subscribe to Amazon Payment Services newsletters and stay up to date. Check out our website as well, paymentservices.amazon.com, to learn more about our Reimagine Payments initiative. There's a small video that I'll play for you guys, and we'll get started. Great. So with that, I'll introduce myself. My name is Shekhar Prasad. I head the information security function for Amazon Payment Services. I've been with APS for about 3.5 years. Prior to this, I was with Amazon's Devices Business Unit, Lab 126, based in California. My overall industry experience spans about 18 years. Joining me is Siddharth Sharma. Siddharth, he'll come on stage shortly. He's an application security engineer with APS, and he's the architect of the secure software development lifecycle model that we will discuss and present to you as our thought process behind building secure products. We're excited to be here, and once again, thank you for joining us. So as we start, I quickly want to talk about what my team does, the APS Information Security Team. Our primary mandate is to protect APS products and services from cybersecurity threats, especially as cybercrime continues to increase all over the world. When we think of information security or cybersecurity, we think of it from confidentiality, integrity, and availability perspective, or CIA. The CIA triad, where confidentiality means we ensure that data is available only to authorized sources and not anyone else. Integrity means the data should not be tampered with, should not be altered unless explicitly required by a service or as per a customer need. Availability means data should be available when needed only by the authorized party. So meaning availability also requires confidentiality and integrity of that data be maintained. This is very important to protect customer trust and make sure your services are meeting the required security expectations that our customers have. Beyond this, we are also in charge of ensuring Amazon Payment Services meets regulatory security compliance requirements as well as industry security compliance expectations. Since we handle transaction processing, we deal with credit card numbers, due to which we are PCI DSS compliant. We go through annual PCI DSS attestation through an on-site audit, which is the highest level of PCI attestation as a level 1 merchant. Beyond this, in terms of regulatory security compliance, we ensure we meet UA's NISA information assurance requirements. We focus on other regulations where we do business to make sure country-based or regional security requirements are being met. In addition to that, as an Amazon company, we also ensure we're meeting security requirements that are expected of all Amazon businesses. Beyond this, beyond actually looking at the threats that are known today, we also focus on figuring out how the industry is evolving, what are the threats of tomorrow, and what are the mechanisms we can build to protect ourselves against emerging threats. We can continue to provide confidence to our customers, our partners, and our customers' customers. Along with all of this, driving awareness is also very important. We drive awareness to employees of APS, to our merchants, to our partners, because while implementing the right security controls is important, it's also important to build security hygiene around the organization as well as the ecosystem that we operate in. So with that, I'll start with our objective of today's discussion. So the topic today is building customer trust through secure product development and delivery. Customer trust, in our opinion, begins upfront as you start thinking of a new product or a new idea. We want to present our approach and encourage you guys to think about security for your customers and mechanisms that you can employ to build customer trust for your customers as well as your partners. The agenda for today is fairly straightforward. I'll start with the motivation to discuss why we believe this is important. Then I'll hand it over to Sid, who'll talk about the program, how it builds a security engineering mindset, and he'll talk through the different phases of secure software development lifecycle, as well as the benefits that this provides. We'll also touch on aspects of automation, roles and responsibilities, and talk about how this is a virtuous cycle that keeps getting better, or rather more secure, the more you follow this process. So with that said, let's start with the motivation. So cyber threats continue to rise with regards to complexity and sophistication. According to a McKinsey study, cyber threats are expected to, or cybercrime is expected to continue increasing 15% year over year. And by 2025, it's expected to reach $10 trillion. That's trillion with a T. So as I'm sure many of you didn't hear of ransomware maybe 5 to 10 years ago, but now you keep seeing ransomware in the news pop up here and there. Along with that, there are more sophisticated threats that are emerging. Supply chain risks are starting to become more concerning. Phishing-based cyber threats are also increasing in complexity and intensity. So that's the reason we believe when you think about security, you need to think about security in design as opposed to after a product is developed. The cost of responding to cyber threats is also high. It can range from a few $100s for a small cybersecurity incident to tens of millions of dollars for a large cyber attack. And for some companies, this could be an existential threat as you have to respond to large cybersecurity incidents. So with that, along with the cost to your business, there's also the reputational impact. If you're not able to conduct business for a certain amount of time, it will impact your perception in the market. This will result a loss in business, could have regulatory implications, and unfavorable PR. So there's the financial and the reputational impact that you need to think about when you think of cybersecurity. So this should be very concerning to any business that's online, as well as any business that deals with customer information, especially when it's highly sensitive information, such as credit card numbers or other personally identifiable information. So as sophistication and intensity of cyber threats continue to rise, we need to start solving for them in design. from the time when you think of a new product or a new idea. As they often say, prevention is better than cure. With this background, I'd like to call Sid on stage. He'll talk through the secure software development lifecycle. Sid.
Thank you, Shikha. Hello, everyone. My name is Siddharth Sharma. I also go by Sid. I've been working with APS from last 3 years as an application security engineer, and my overall experience spans around 7 to 8 years. Building on top of what Shikhar said in the last slide, incorporating security in the SDLC is no longer a good practice to have. It should be considered as a must-have, especially when you're dealing with payment processing like credit card numbers, customer information, PII data, right? Based on this mental model, we drive something we call Secure Software Development Lifecycle, or SDLC in short, through our product that we deploy at APS, and we recommend and urge you to do the same, right? So before we go into like what Secure SDLC is, so any thoughts, any idea, like what do you understand when we say Secure SDLC? Anyone have any thoughts on that? Right, exactly. So building on the top what he's saying, Secure SDLC is not about doing things differently. It's about doing things securely. It already it's a SDLC that we have. And that is something that we also recommend and believe in. So we at APS believe in that security teams should share their experiences with partner teams and help them build understanding around security landscapes, impact of a vulnerability that can be exploited, and help them understand what all they can do. We also believe that security is a responsibility of everyone and not just the security teams. Thus, we should work, and you should also work with your teams, customers to build security mechanisms like baseline security requirements, checklist, benchmarking that can be used in future product developments and through different stages, right? Also, we also recommend you to build automation wherever applicable. Any automation done during the SDLC helps you gain consistency and also helps you improve the efficiency of any security mechanisms or risk discovery activities that you're doing, and helps you release product more securely and on time without any delays, right? Now that we have a small understanding of what security mindset look like or what we do in Secure SDLC, let's walk you through different stages of an SDLC, right? And again, like we mentioned, we are not doing anything new. We are not reinventing the wheel here. Or we are not asking you to build a process from scratch. We, as part of Secure SDLC, recommend you to incorporate security requirements at different stages, right? So whenever we start a product, so this is the entire life cycle of a product. So you start from the requirements. Once you gather requirements, you work with the teams, build on the design. Once the design is ready, we work on the development of the product feature. And once the development is done, we test it out, we make sure everything is done, and then we deploy it to production. Once that is done, we have monitoring capabilities which monitor the application 24/7 just to identify anomalies. So as part of Secure SDLC, we use the same software development lifecycle and incorporate various kind of security checks at different stages. For example, we start with requirements. So whenever a product is being thought about, whenever a new feature is being about to launch, we work with the teams, we work with product managers during the BRD reviews, try to incorporate security requirements at a BRD stage. One thing we recommend and we also believe in is that you should do use case as well as misuse case modeling. So what do we mean by that is whenever we're launching a product, we look at the happy cases, like what are the use cases, what it can be used for. But from an attacker or an adversary point of view, you should look into how that feature can be misused. So this will help you understand what can go wrong and what can be the impact of that if something goes wrong. And then based on that, you can have security controls in place. Also, we recommend whenever you are launching a product, look at the classification of the data that your application will be handling. So when we say classification, will it be customer information, sensitive information, card numbers? This will help you implement the right bar of security in your products, right? Once you go through these activities, once you have a use case modeling, you have a good understanding of things, what can go wrong, and then you can incorporate those changes when you are into the design phase. Once you are into the design phase, we recommend you to do a threat modeling, right? When we talk about threat modeling, it's different than use case and misuse case modeling, because threat modeling comes into the place when the application is being developed. So we can do threat modeling on the tech stack, be it from the application point of view, be it from the infrastructure point of view. You go through the infrastructure you're using, AWS or the technologies that you're using, and do a threat modeling, seeing what can go wrong, any misconfiguration that can happen, and incorporate those in your architecture designs. We also recommend doing securing your operation processes. A lot of time when we are doing developments or doing anything like that, we look into the processes. They are like, for example, sharing data with the partner teams. And when you're sharing data, even internally, you should have security in place to make sure everything is shared securely, right? Same, we also recommend coming up, like what we said in the last slide, design templates, right? You come up with baseline security requirements, you publish templates which can be used by different teams, right? So that it does not only become a responsibility for security engineer, and also security engineering team does not become a bottleneck. If the templates are already published, they can just directly go there, go through them, understand what the minimum basic requirements are, and then implement those. Once that is done, once the design is ready, once design is finalized, we get into development. Once we start developing the project or the feature that we're going through, we recommend automating security wherever possible, right? When you do security through automations or build tools that do security for you, the chances of finding risks gets very high, and the consistency against finding risk also increases. So wherever possible, do automation and security testing during the development part. Also secure your operation processes. If you are storing your passwords, even for testing, you should have secure environments where you can store it and then pass it on to the team members. Once the development is ready, we move on to testing and development and deployment, right? So during testing, what we do at APS and what we recommend is anything that cannot be automated or require a more deep dive, do that manually. There are a lot of use cases in which we do automations, but there are things that require deeper dive in. So we do manual testing, we go through a lot of other testing that can be done, and also validate that all the attack surfaces that we have highlighted during a design or a requirement phase have been addressed properly. And then use those validations to make sure the requirements are in place. And then the last thing we recommend is, though you have done testing, you have provided security requirements at each stage, do validate them before the product is deployed. It's always good to have a maker and checker things in place. Once everything is done, make sure the risk that you have raised during different stages are being addressed, or mitigation controls are in place so that the impact of those vulnerabilities is reduced to minimum. And once the product is launched, the product still remains very critical. A lot of time when we launch something into production, the teams move on to the next project that they have in pipeline. But we recommend having a mechanism that monitors your application 24/7, right? You should have mechanisms that are monitoring any anomalies you are seeing, and based on that, they're giving you alerts which you can look into and see how you can use them to secure your application. We also recommend doing automated remediations. So risks or vulnerabilities that are not hard to fix and can be automated should be done through automated remediation. For example, let's say you have an S3 bucket which should be private, but by this configuration, it becomes public. You can fix that automatically by having alerts, which finds any public S3 bucket, makes it private. And things that cannot be fixed automatically, you should have incident response in place so that in case of an incident happen, even after finding all those issues, teams should know whom to reach out and what are the SLAs to fix it, and then the right stakeholders are involved and the issue is fixed. Once that is done, we also recommend and we also practice that at APS is doing a root cause analysis. Fixing a vulnerability, fixing a patch is good, but we should also learn from the incident. We should do analysis, a deep dive into that, what went wrong, why after so many checks we're still able to get this vulnerability in the product, and then work backward from there and create those pipelines, those checklists, and feed them back into the BRD so that we can use them in the next stages. And this is how the complete circle keeps going on. Any analysis that we do through the root cause analysis goes into BRD, and then the cycle keeps moving on. So this was more on like what should be done and how we should be doing it. But the biggest question comes in why we should be doing this. One is that security is needed. You need to launch a secure product, but it comes with a lot of other benefits. One is that when you do security as part of an SDLC and each stage, the focus from a security does not get lost. Security will always be in focus. It's not like we initiated a security review at a very early stage. The product launches is in 6 months. After 6 months, we forgot about security. If it's involved in each stage, we know where the status of security is, and we keep working backward from there. Similarly, it also helps us create an inventory of misuse cases. And those misuse cases is not only just for the product we are launching, but for future products also. We can learn from those misuse cases. We can publish those misuse cases for product managers, project managers, and when they're launching something, they can introduce or they can incorporate learnings from there into their products. So what advantage this helps is, this helps them create a baseline security list. So if let's say they're launching a feature which requires card numbers, we have a baseline security requirement saying that if your application handling card numbers, these are the basic requirements that should anyhow have. On top of that, we do our reviews, but a baseline gets ready, which helps us in identifying risk at a very early stage, which again helps us from the cost. Like what Shekhar mentioned, whenever there is a security incident, it incorporates a cost. But there's also a cost to remediate it, right? For example, if you find an issue in production, to fix it, there could be a downtime. And when you talk about the payments industry, where we process transactions, like say thousands of transactions per second, even a downtime of 1 minute can cause a lot of monetary impact. Therefore, we try to find issues before the application is in production, so that when we are fixing those issues, the application does not have a downtime, and our customer remains active, and there's no availability issues for our customer, which in again promote customer trust with us, with our partners, and their partners' partners. Also, these checks at different stages helps us be compliant to a lot of regulatory requirements, because once you deal with payments, once you are working in the payments industry, there are a lot of local as well as international regulatory requirements that we have to adhere to. And having these security checks at different places makes sure and makes you have a good belief in yourself that you will be compliant to requirements like PCI DSS, NESA, SAMA, etc. So in all, if you implement it through different stages, it has a lot of benefits that we just talked about. So handing over to Shekhar again, so if you have any questions.
Yep. Thank you, Sid. Hope you guys found this useful, and I hope there were some takeaways that you guys can apply from here as well. Just want to remind everyone that cybercrime is on the rise. It will continue to be on the rise. So it's important that we start thinking about security upfront, not just for APS, but as an ecosystem. Our customers, our partners, everyone we work with. The stronger the overall ecosystem is, the harder it becomes for a threat actor to successfully carry out a cyber attack. One more thing I just wanted to kind of mention was, despite having all of this, it's also very important to have a robust incident response plan. So you obviously always, hope for the best, but you need to be prepared for worst case situations. So yes, this is important, but as important as having a good incident response plan. So with that, the floor is open for questions. We can take questions from here or over the chat window.
Yes, we have 2 questions. The first is, what are your key learnings when implementing the secure SDLC framework? And can you share any insights?
Can I share that?
Any insights?
Insights, okay. Do you want me to start?
Insight.
Yeah. So I would say it does require a change in mindset. When you're writing requirements, when engineering is working based on those requirements, and then plugging in security in those requirements and design. It requires a stronger collaboration with the various teams early on. So I think driving that organizational shift is what is needed. It's possible, but it requires focused effort. So that's what I would say. Sid, anything from you?
Absolutely. Like, I think the biggest learnings we get is like having that mindset in the teams, because usually when we develop a project, our priorities is to launch the product to the market. But having that mindset to secure product comes up with a lot of resistance. But the more you do these things, the more easier it becomes for future products.
Yep. And the insight I would say is you will see efficiencies once this starts becoming standardized. You'll start seeing fewer risks later in the product lifecycle, and especially in production, as a result of incorporating this throughout your product development lifecycle. Yep.
Okay, and the second question, as a customer of APS, what are the things you'd like us to implement for secure integration?
Okay. So do you want to take this one, Sid? And
So as a customer, there are a lot of things that we can get into. First is like making sure the integrations that you're having with APS or the way you are storing your data are secure. The basic, like we talk about, have a baseline security requirements, which talks about if the data is critical or payments critical, how do we encrypt it, where do we store it, and how do we share it with teams internally as well as externally. Anything
Yep.
to share?
yeah, so I would say think of the whole ecosystem, right? You can't just offload security to a partner team or team that you're integrating with. Like obviously it's our responsibility to make sure the information that we manage is managed securely, but at the same time, before it comes to us, I'd like to ask that our customers also think about their environment. They look at the overall security of their infrastructure, of their applications, as they're developing new services. How do they think of security upfront so that while customer data is being managed in their environment, it's still secured before it's sent over to us? And like I said earlier, we need to build a secure ecosystem end to end for us to truly achieve a more secure or more cyber secure world.
And have more regular like awareness sessions within your teams so
Yes.
that they can establish that mindset when they're developing projects. I think we have a question.
Thanks. Just quick one around the like the best practices for this SSDLC. Is there like any mapping between those and also some like common standards security domain?
Yes. So like we were saying, we do a baselining. We go through like, for example, NESA we have, and then we have CISS frameworks. Then we have other security frameworks, OWASP top 10. So when we create baselines across for application securities, we go through OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities. Based on the recommendation we have from there, we try to create our own checklist. And then based on what you're creating a product around, we add those mapping accordingly from there.
But those standard doesn't have like any labeling, like any tagging, like these are like the best practice for like testing. These are like the best practice for that.
Right, yes.
Don't have, right?
We do that. So like that's what we're trying to do. So for example, let's say during the design phase, right? So where the product is not ready, we say that these are the best practices when you're creating a BRD.
Yeah.
So let's say you want to share some data, or let's say you want to capture CVVs. So we tell the teams, hey, you should have a secure mechanism in capturing it and then storing it. Though the design is not ready yet, you should make sure those things are already in place when you're designing the entire architecture. When it goes to development, then we talk to development teams how they can implement those things in place. If this is encryption, first is like you should do encryption. For the development team, how to do encryption. So we tag them accordingly to the different teams.
Perfect, thanks.
We have another question from Ashwarya. She's asking, what are some of the current challenges in implementing SDLCC?
I think we kind of touched on this in the first question, but I'll just speak to it again. So the current challenge obviously is making teams realize the importance of this upfront. And I think driving these awareness sessions like this one internally as well as externally become important. Making sure there's bandwidth allocated across all teams, so product, engineering, program management, to factor in these security requirements, the security criteria, and make sure it's part of the overall program plan. Addressing that will improve the overall process quite a bit.
Okay, thank you. The last question from Arun Kumar. What are the tools that you use in APS for SDLC security layer, like automation and monitoring tools?
Right, yeah. So we use different tools at different stages again, right? So for example, for BRDs or design reviews, we have internal tools. There are AWS security tools available like inspectors, and then you have GuardDuty that we use at the time of designing. And when it comes to development stage or testing stage, we try to do SAST, which is more of like static analysis, and then we do dynamic analysis, and then we do IAS. So we have automation built in different stages, and we have different tools for each of the stages that we do.
Okay, thank you. The last question, which SDLC model is the best and why?
So what we've presented is a fairly standard software development lifecycle model. We believe this can be adapted for waterfall or agile development methodologies. I'd say this is a fairly standard model where you want to have clear requirements up front before you actually start designing so that you reduce churn.
Yes, more like Agile.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we said. Like, you don't need to reinvent any wheel here. You already have, if you have an Agile framework, you incorporate security in that. You have a waterfall model, you incorporate security in that. That's why it becomes easier to implement security.
Okay, one more question. Sorry. Is the security standard the reason to make the integration efficiency with APS limited?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Yeah, I'm having ability. I'm just trying to see. Oh, I think it's like this person means, are the security standards the reason why the integration efficiency with APS is limited?
I wouldn't say it's just the standards. The main thing that we go for is the customer trust. Whenever we're launching something, our first focus is that the product that we're launching is secure. We promote that trust among our customer, and whoever is using our products should feel safe that when we are transacting to APS, their data is secure, their partners' data is secure. So I think customer trust and making product secure is our first motivation to drive secure SDLC through APS and the products.
Yep. And at the same time, I'd say if there is any feedback on this, please do reach out to us. Our goal is to keep our customers secure, but also offer them flexibility on how they integrate with us.
Okay, actually, one more question just came in. Which SDLC model is risk?
Is risk?
Is risk? Yeah, is risky.
I mean, I would say not having security in any of the phases is risky.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
I think that's all the questions on the chat. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else.
Do you have any questions in here?
Do we have any questions on the floor? You're
Sure.
good? Good? Okay. Thank you so much.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thanks for
everyone.
your valuable time.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.